What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Scent Bubble. I'm your host for the evening. And listen, we're going to talk about, for me, a controversial fragrance because I don't like this fragrance. And many people love this fragrance. And so I want to do my due diligence. And I'm so glad that I got a sample of this. I thought I was going to love it because, I was listening to the crowd. And so I bought a bigger, decanted sample of this. But, just being honest with myself, I got to say, for me, it was all hype. I'm not a big fan, but I want to give this a solid review and I want to kind of walk through the psychology of what my experience was like being introduced to this fragrance and then other things that kind of influence my distaste for it. So buckle up, stay tuned, and we'll be back in a sec. All right, guys, I am your host, and this is the Scent Bubble. And we are going to be reviewing a fragrance that, to be quite honest with you, I'm upset that I'm not a fan of this. Now, this is what I've learned. In the realm of leather, suede, tobacco, coffee, these kind of fragrances that I feel are an acquired taste, and they're fragrances, they're notes that you can't just drop in a fragrance and they're just immediately good. For instance, like you drop white florals in anything, it's going to probably be good. You drop vetiver in a fragrance, it's probably going to make it better. Like there's just, amber, patchouli, vanilla. These are notes you don't really have to think twice about. You might have to think about their chemistry, but as standalone notes, you already love them. Sandalwood. And so this is a tobacco fragrance that I don't know really what I was expecting because it does deliver on exactly what it promises. But I feel that the more I kind of looked into it, it was kind of one of those things where I was listening too much to the culture of conversation around this fragrance. And so I just bought it. I never really asked myself, do you really even like these notes individually? Because when I smelled it, it was just not all that. This is from the house of Mancera, and this is red tobacco. Hopefully you guys didn't turn off the video because I do have some interesting things to say about this. For all my red tobacco lovers, and I know that there's a lot of them, I did make sure I got a high quality juice of red tobacco. I'm not coming to you with a dupe or a clone. However, I have tried many clones and dupes of this fragrance. Now, let me tell you why I'm not the biggest fan of this fragrance. And we're going to give it its due diligence by throwing it on a test strip. It's a decent fragrance in the air, right? But I find that the use case for this just feels weird. Like, I feel like I'm forcing it to have use case. Because when I smell this, it does literally smell like the name, red and tobacco. The juice, it smells just like the juice looks. It smells of quality, but for some reason, let me just walk you through some of the negatives for me, and maybe you can see kind of the psychology of why I personally don't like it. So, first off, this red note, what is it? Let's look here. So we have cinnamon, I smell that. Agarwood, incense, saffron, I smell all of that. Green apple, somewhat, I kind of smell all of that, but in a fragrance like this, you don't smell all these notes individually. You smell the word red. I know that sounds crazy. And then and even though it has spice and jasmine and all this stuff in the base, all you smell is ambery tobacco. I don't smell any of these notes in here. Most of the notes up top just kind of translate as this kind of cinnamony red fragrance. Almost like this is going to sound, guys, this is going to sound so crazy. You're going to hate me for this. But this fragrance to me, not in terms of the tobacco, because I feel like this is like really good quality pipe tobacco smell. That's the tobacco. This isn't like cigarette. This is like You went in a cigar lounge. Somebody, rolled up some great pipe tobacco for you that's nice and sweet and organic and natural. And, that's what they cover the tobacco side really nice, which is, awesome. But then on the top, this red note, even though I get cinnamon, I get incense, I get saffron, I get amber, I get patchouli, I get somewhat of green apple. If you want to know, if you've never smelled red tobacco before and you want me to paint the picture for you, and if you actually love red tobacco, slay me in the comments. I would love to hear your take. The red side of this fragrance outside of the tobacco literally to me smells like somebody urinated on a stick of red cinnamon gum. Because it's got the cinnamon vibe, it's got the tinge of amber, but it's just kind of like, it's got this tangy vibe to it. And I think it might be due to like the slight funk from the oud and the green apple. I think they just are throwing too much in that red side of the fragrance to where it doesn't go amber. And this is why I struggle with a fragrance like African leather. If I close my eyes and smell a fragrance like African leather, I absolutely love it. But I lean towards Carlisle because after a while on skin, when it warms up, that warm ambery touch to it makes it smell like someone urinated on leather. Like it's almost got this like tiger piss kind of vibe. Like you'd imagine like this expensive royal tiger urinating. and that's what the not Carlisle, but African leather almost starts to smell like, because of the animalic side interacting with the amber. And I feel like it's the same here. It's not quite as urine-y smelling as the other fragrance I was just describing, the African leather. I that's why I lean towards Carlisle, by the way, because I felt like it's not so much in the urine-y category. Like it's got the light amber and tangy vibe, but then goes in a different space that makes it more lean sweet and not like tangy. And so back to this fragrance, the tobacco note is actually incredible. The more I just sit with this fragrance, I'm appreciating the tobacco accord. But when it comes to that blend of cinnamon, saffron, incense, oud, apple, amber, and then musk, which can be animalic, it just kind of, it smells like piss to me. Like someone pissed on cinnamon gum. And don't ask me why how I know what something like that smells like. This is just what I'm visualizing when I smell this. But anyway, all that aside, when would you want to smell like cinnamon and tobacco? Let's just take the best parts of the fragrance. Amber, cinnamon, tobacco. Okay, maybe a hookah lounge, maybe a cigar lounge, maybe a super cold weather and you're an outdoors kind of guy. I feel like all of these use cases, you're not trying to impress the opposite sex, and it's an activity where you would wear this where most people aren't interacting with you at all. It's hard to find where this complements the space. Let me say another thing I don't like about it. I've smelled like 10 different renditions of clones of this, and all of them are called red tobacco. It just has a different house name. This fragrance, this Mancera, is only 5 or 10% better than every clone or dupe I've ever smelled. I feel like the red note, because somehow this still comes off synthetic to me. The tobacco smells real, but the red aspect is kind of giving this almost synthetic tinge to it that really pisses me off. If this was just tobacco and maybe vanilla and amber, and they took everything off the top, and they just kind of left the white floral and spices in there and vetiver to kind of like lighten the mood of it, so it's not like heavy tobacco, vanilla, amber, I think this would be like a show-stopping fragrance. But it still feels synthetic to me, even though it's an expensive fragrance. It feels like And just because you go expensive doesn't mean all the ingredients are like organic or natural. Synthetic materials are still used at the highest level, but that's what's translating here for me. It might smell like a very fresh take of those ingredients I just said to you, but it still smells synthetic to me. All of the dupes that I've smelled pretty much nail the tobacco accord. It might smell a little bit cheaper than this pipe tobacco that I'm smelling in this Mancera, but on the red note, they all get the red note like 100%, which is just this synthetic red kind of vibe. I feel like if you like this fragrance, just get the clone. Get any clone from any discounter. Like I said, I've yet to smell a bad clone of this. And the clones you can get of red tobacco, because it's such a linear fragrance in my eyes, that's how I see it. So many people have clones of it. Like if you go to a TJ Maxx and go not necessarily to the glass case, but the case where they, or the shelf where they just leave a lot of dupes out in the open, you will find red tobacco immediately, like in 5 different variations of it. It'll look just like the Mancera bottle. Like, let me pull this up. It'll look just like this bottle and it'll say red tobacco, but that Mancera will be replaced with some other company's name, you know, Larry and Curly's red tobacco. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think clones fit the bill for this. And I'm not just saying that because I'm not the biggest fan of this fragrance, because in the air, I like it. It just, again, use case. You know, maybe if I was in predominantly colder climate, this might have a little space in my shelf. You know, similar to like Oud for Greatness. You know, it's a cold weather fragrance. You can't rock that when the sun's out. Like, so it's got very specific use case for a guy like me on the West Coast where it's predominantly sunny. But I think even then, like, you know, someone urinated on a stick of cinnamon gum and then sprinkled some really fresh pipe tobacco on it. That's what I get out of this fragrance. You guys can shoot me in the comments. I'm open to the conversation about it, but this is a fragrance I just don't get the hype around. I have a full bottle right here, and I have another sample of this that's a little bit smaller. Atomizer's phenomenal on this. If you want this fragrance, just ask. I'll give it away to you if you're on your channel. Matter of fact, first person that watches this video, if you want Mancera's red tobacco, I will gladly ship it to you and pay for the shipping. Because this just doesn't gel well with me. Now, I will say this. Just because I'll ship it off to you for free doesn't mean this is a terrible fragrance. I think the quality is there, but it's just a little synthetic for me, and I think it's cold weather specific. And the more I investigated kind of what I'm interested in, I don't like the cinnamon gum and tobacco kind of vibe. Love tobacco, but I feel like tobacco and leather are very similar in that you have to tame it and treat it with such a high respect of ingredients to really make those notes shine. And I think they missed the mark here. But many people disagree with me. I am not the authority on Mancera's red tobacco. I know several people that own this fragrance. They say they love it. I wish I would ask, you know, I'm going to start asking these guys, what's the occasion that you wear this in? You know what I'm saying? Because I'd be highly interested to see where they're rocking a fragrance like this. Maybe it'll change my mind. But yeah, the use case isn't there for me. So I'd love to bless one of you guys with this fragrance. Whoever watches this, comments below, send me red tobacco. I will ship it off the next day. You have my word. Until next time, guys, thank you for rocking with me in the scent bubble. Hey, we finally did a fragrance that I'm not a big fan of. It seems like most of these fragrances are killer fragrances that I have in my collection that I love. But this might be the first negatively reviewed fragrance that I have. So, hey, we're mixing it up. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Have a blessed night. I will see y'all tomorrow.